Which hand holding the hidden object can be an expensive investment. Seeking the latest method for this effect has become an obsession for many performers, no matter what the price. Now let's take a look at a very inexpensive which hand, which you just might like. A coin. It could be any object that you wish. The object is placed in the spectator's hand. They can transfer it from hand to hand as many times as they want. The magician's back can be turned around. They don't see what's happening. Or the spectator can put it behind their back and put it in one hand or the other. At this point, you're able to tell them which hand, in this case this one, which hand has the object. You can do it two different ways. You can do the mystical pass above and below and up along the arm to try to sense where the object is. You can do it that way, and it does work because that is part of the working mechanism that makes this work. Or you can do it from a distance. In other words, from a distance, about 5 feet away. You know which hand the object is in, no matter which hand you place it in, from a distance. There's no touching, no nothing. It works both ways because of how it works. What I've done, I've attached invisible thread to the object with a piece of Scotch tape. It's invisible on the coin. And see that little ball floating in midair? That's a little piece of blue tack, although you can use magician's wax also. And this little ball is a lot bigger than what it really needs to be, but it needs to be big enough to weight down the thread so the thread hangs. When the thread hangs, it's hanging down by, held at waist level. It's about 2.5 feet long, so it hangs down below their knees. Trust me, when you give this to someone, when you perform this for someone, they're never going to be looking down at the floor for something that might be dangling down on the floor. Place it in their hand. All of the action is within their hand. It doesn't matter what hand they place it in. At this point, when you turn back around, you simply feel for the thread. In other words, the back of your hand contacts the thread. You feel it immediately. You know which hand has the coin or the object. From a distance, obviously, and I'll back up. So now that little ball is dangling down there somewhere, and you should be able to see it if you're looking for it, or perhaps not, because no one ever looks down near the floor whenever you're performing up here. That's just how simple this method is. Now you can use regular invisible thread. You can do that vector thread, which is a little bit stronger if you wish. But I've used the cheap woolly nylon, the woolly yarn thread as they call it, and I haven't had this thing break in a while. I've done this to a few people. It stays attached. It works I would think a little bit safer if the magician turns around and they keep it in front of them. Therefore, maybe there's not a chance of it getting caught on their clothing or something. But the magician could turn around, they pick up the object and keep it in their hand, and it's a done deal because that little ball is floating down there someplace. I can see it, you can see it too if you're looking for it maybe, but they will never ever see it. A very simple, inexpensive way to do the which hand reveal.